Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. I'm back. I'm back home in New Orleans. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. My home is fine. All my stuff is fine. And you want to know what I'm most happy about? To be reunited with my personal possessions, namely my smell goods. Listen, I've got to put on smell goods every day, and to have only had one option to spray, yes, first world problems, but listen, at least I'm gonna smell good during the apocalypse, okay? It is Tuesday, September 14th, and that means, Jupiter is back in Sidereal Capricorn, I believe until November. And this is why I named the theme of September in the 2021 Sidereal Astrology Guide Back to Life, Back to Reality, because we've been living in a dissociated fantasy land since April when Jupiter entered Aquarius, and somehow we went back to normal. How's that working out for you? Do you like normal? Personally, me, thanks, but no thanks. You can keep that. Yeah, I don't want to give a long soliloquy. I'm here to pull some cards. So let's shuffle and see what the word is. I really, really, really missed doing these readings. I really missed pulling tarot cards every few days because, I mean, while I have my own personal tarot practice, there's something about sharing a divination and kind of being on one accord with other people. And also, when I get on here and start talking, the mediumship come through, and it just don't vibe the same when I'm doing it by myself. So I need y'all to do it with me, okay? So I'm happy. I haven't been able to do this for like 3 weeks. So I'm very, very excited for these cards to give us some wisdom, some insight, some guidance, some direction, a meditation, a mantra, something to focus on to carry us through the rest of this week. And do one more shuffle here. All right. Card on the bottom is Judgment. Whew. So this is the card. I mean, I feel like if there was a card to really embody the whole back to life, back to reality thing, it would be this card here. The Judgment for me is, if I knew then what I know now. This is not about mistakes or regret or even guilt. This is not about I should have known better. The Judgment card is about making connections between past situation, circumstances, and present situation, circumstances. It's an opportunity for us to reinterpret what happened in the past with the benefit of the experiences that we've had since that time, and new vantage points, new circumstances and relationships. All kinds of things has happened since that thing that happened in the past. And then you really did not know better. Sometimes time is the factor. It is the thing that makes all of the difference. But it's also the thing that is devalued and discounted so greatly. Time, there's a song called Time is a Healer. Who is that? Eva Cassidy. That's a jam. I'm gonna have to listen to that today. I think it's called Time is a Healer by Eva Cassidy. Listen to that today. Oh, that was a word. All right. Now I've got to go listen to it because I can't quite recall the lyrics, but Time is a healer, and it doesn't make everything right, and it doesn't return it to its original state, and it doesn't fix all things, but at the very least, it gives you perspective. So again, here we are with the Judgment card talking about perspective, insight. Wisdom is not a given. Wisdom is the application of knowledge at the appropriate time, the appropriate application of knowledge at the appropriate time. Anyone can have knowledge if you can read and comprehend, but wisdom is the ability to apply what you know at the appropriate time. So I feel with this Judgment card, there's this way that we beat up ourselves for not knowing or not deciding or not choosing something in the past, but you really didn't know, right? I think this is also bringing up themes of innocence. And I think it's tough because on the one hand, life don't care about innocence. Life doesn't care about your lack of experience or knowledge. Things are going to happen, and your innocence only protects you from being fully aware of what is happening at the time. And that's necessary. It's survival, because for a lot of us, if we fully comprehended what we were experiencing at the time we experienced it, we wouldn't be here, right? Mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically, we just wouldn't be here. So these are themes I'm hearing with this Judgment card today. Innocence, and how innocence protects us. But with time, we gain perspective, and things get new meaning, for good or ill, right? Things from the past, things we experienced in the past get new meaning with time, right? And wisdom, innocence and wisdom are kind of these dancing partners, that wisdom is the appropriate application of knowledge at the appropriate time. It's knowing, having the data, the information, the facts, but also the discernment to apply, right? And again, just because you have an experience, just because you have access to information, does not mean that you have wisdom. Just because you went through something terrible doesn't make you wise. Oh, the loud streets of New Orleans, these thin walls, right? But just because you've been through something challenging or traumatizing, it does not make you wise. I don't really know how experiences and information turn into wisdom. What is the factor that allows us to take our experiences and to appropriately apply the knowledge that we gain? What is the factor? Discernment? How do you get that? I don't know. Maybe the cards will tell us. Let's see what we've got here. The Sun. Ooh, y'all, remember that card came up that one time? Remember that one time I did a reading on here, and it was the Six of Cups and the Sun, and I asked you, whose attention did you want so badly that you were willing to do anything for it? And did they give it to you, right? Remember, I talked about the Sun as our gift of attention, our ability to consciously shift what we're looking at, right? It's quite magical to be in pain and to not be focused on that pain. It's quite magical, actually, to be in the midst of extremely traumatic circumstances and to not be consciously present and focused on those circumstances, for good or ill, right? But we're talking about dissociation, right? What do you do in situations of extreme powerlessness? Our psyche, our spirit protects us, right? So I think this is really interesting, right? Because Jupiter has left Sidereal Aquarius. The wound of Aquarius is erasure, right? To in some ways cease to exist because we are disregarded. We are not seen. We are colored over and painted over and wallpapered over by other people's perceptions, or we look around us and have no cue or no clue even about who we are because our environment tells us nothing, right? So the coping strategy of Sidereal Aquarius actually is dissociation. And remember, a coping strategy is not a bad thing. You would not be here if you did not have it, the coping strategy. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. Maybe you wish you weren't here, maybe you do. I don't know. But the gift of Sidereal Aquarius is self-determination. And I feel that over these past 6 months that Jupiter has been in Sidereal Aquarius, we have gone from erasure and stopped at dissociation. It's not happening. If I don't look at it, if I can't see it, if I can't change it, if I'm powerless to impact it, if I cannot escape, it just is not happening then. This is a valid survival mechanism, right? The sun makes things plain. Write the vision and make it plain. The sun makes things plain. It turns on the lights and it makes us aware of all of the things that we could not properly see before because it was dark, or things were hidden in the recesses of our subconscious and unconscious mind. Judgment and the sun is a pretty power-packed punch of a bunch of cards, right? We go from, if I knew then what I know now, and the sun is like, well, what do you know now? What can you see clearly, plain as day, that was invisible to you, that you just were not conscious of? There are some things coming up. There are some things coming into stark relief. They're emerging from the blurry, incoherent, incohesive narratives of your life, the stories you've been telling, and things are coming into focus. And these two cards make me think of a camera lens. And there's this effect where you can have the lens set so that it's only focused on like one object and literally everything else is completely blurry. I think it's called like portrait mode if you've got it on like your mobile device camera, right? And it'll make everything else blurry so that you cannot see the boundaries. The colors start to blur into each other and you can't make heads or tails of what you're looking at other than what is in focus. And we have this capacity, not just visually, yes, because camera lenses are mimicking the human eye, but or an eyeball, but we have this capacity where we can focus intently our attention on something, and it leaves everything else, it renders everything else surrounding it blurry, and we may form the judgment that it's inconsequential. But when we focus our attention, right, on something that has happened to us, an experience, excuse me, or from a particular vantage point that leaves everything else blurry, do you know what we lose? We lose context. And when you lose context, you actually lose discernment. And discernment is the capacity to know what's real and true. It's the difference between believing everything you see and hear and maintaining a healthy sense of skepticism that allows you to withhold judgment while you wait for more information, measure it against your past experience, and most importantly, context. Context is the circumstantial evidence, the circumstances that make something make sense. And so with the Judgment and Sun card, we're getting some context, right? If I knew then what I know now means if I understood the context of what was happening at the time, I would have understood what it meant. And maybe I would have made different choices. Maybe, maybe not. So in this Judgment and Sun moment, we are gaining context. We may be focusing on the exact same thing in front of us, but now it means something different because you have context. You pull the lens back and more is in your view, and some of those things that were blurry that maybe you couldn't remember or maybe you didn't understand become clear. What context are you gaining that's making some things make some real good sense that didn't really make sense to you before? What is coming into focus now? Now that you have time. And what are you going to do with the realization? If you knew then what you know now, what? What are you going to do with that knowledge? This is where wisdom comes in. Can you appropriately apply the insight that you are receiving at this time? Can you alchemize it into wisdom? Can you transform information into wisdom? Are you cultivating discernment? I think that's a good place to stop. Thank y'all. Speaking of, I mentioned a few minutes ago, I talked about wounds and gifts and coping strategies of Aquarius. And I'm offering a workshop coming up. It's called the Wounds and Gifts Workshop, and it is a follow-up to a workshop that I did last year that's available on my website and my online shop for download called Reading Your Sidereal Birth Chart Workshop. And in that workshop, I kind of impromptu introduced the wounds and gifts of each of the 12 sidereal zodiac signs. And I decided that that was something that I should really flesh out into more detail. And turns out we've got some wounds and gifts for each of the 4 elements and coping strategies. Wounds, gifts, and coping strategies for each of the modes, which I call tools for elements and tasks. For modes, cardinal, fixed, mutable. We've got wounds, gifts, and coping strategies for each of the planets, and wounds, gifts, and coping strategies for each of the signs. So if you've been working through the Reading Your Sidereal Birth Chart Workshop, you know that at the beginning there's some calculations that we make about your most prominent dominant planet, mode, element, sign, and we're going to put this all together in this workshop I'm presenting in 4 sessions, 4 2-hour sessions. The cost is $225, and all participants will attend live via Zoom the 4 2-hour sessions that begin October 16th, I believe. And you will receive all of the worksheets and the slide contents and the audio recordings to download if you attend in person. Only going to make it 50 slots. And hopefully I'll be able to make the content from this workshop available in the store at a later date. But Registration starts September 16th, which is, I believe, Thursday. So September 16th, you'll be able to register for the Wounds and Gifts workshop. I sent out an email a couple days ago, yesterday actually, with the outline of the workshop. I'm very excited about it. I've been working on it for months and things kind of finally came together literally right before the storm and I left. So registration begins the 16th. I hope to see you guys there. Can't wait to share this with you, and take care of yourselves. Please wear your mask. If not for you, for all of the children who are unprotected presently. I will see y'all. Bye.